This is William K. Murtaugh, Murt Witness 1, and this is Tuesday, January 21st, 2020. And we're going to talk about different stuff today. And we are at another day of Phil McConnell sitting in jail, safe from those who he thinks wants to hasten his demise, and he may be correct. Timothy Charles Homseth doesn't have that luxury. He's out there under control. His fate is unknown. As of 1 o'clock this day, nothing has been heard from him. Nothing on his blog, nothing on his supporters' Facebook page. I'm blocked on Timmy's Facebook page, so I have no way of checking that at the moment. But it would seem that Timmy's gone dark. And if this keeps up, I may not have any need to talk about Timmy anymore. He may be history, quite literally. Someday we might pick up a newspaper or tune in to TV or a link on the internet and find that a dead body's been found in the woods someplace, and it's our little Timmy. Or else we may never hear from Timmy again. Or Timmy may pop up with another one of his stupid theories, go over on BitChute or someplace and babble away. But under what circumstances? Is it the real Timmy? Is it a computer program that simulated Timmy? Or what? We will never know. And it's going to get to the point where we're never going to care. Because with Timmy going silent and staying off the radar, he has solved the problem. For we've been wanting to get him to shut up. And he did so on his own. And so we can be thankful for that. Now, as for Phil McConnell, he's paying the price for being associated with Timothy Homseth. He is the one in jail. He is the one that is likely to lose his house and everything he owns. Not only to the government, to the bank, but to people in the background that are waiting like vultures to swoop in and raid his treasure chest, take all his antique cars, whatever collections he might have, furnishings, all kinds of personal possessions, money, and the house itself. It's all going to be gone. Phil McConnell, regardless of his fate, when it comes time for Florida to make its decision, it's going to be a poor man. His wife is getting a lot of his pension, his ex-wife that is. There's no telling what power the second wife has over his finances. She may get some of that funding, either in a divorce or just having the power to dip into the funds. There's no telling what's going to happen there. But eventually, the novelty of Phil McConnell doing his daily jailhouse calls is going to wear off. His martyrdom is going to wear off. The people running things are going to want to move on to something else, something more effective, something more profitable. And it's happening a little bit faster than I expected. I thought this was going to drag out a little longer, but it appears we're winding down at a pretty good clip. People have already moved on. The numbers are starting to go down. If you watch the view rate on Field McConnell. His numbers are going down. Right now, they're at a comfortable level. They're down, but they're not out. But over the span of time, fewer and fewer people are going to tune in because there's a lot of important things going on. Now, I still have this pesky cold, so if I sniffle or cough every once in a while, please excuse me, because it's hard to cue the mic when I'm driving down the road, and I edit out as much as I can on the final cut. But a sniffle or two or a cough or two might slip through, so just excuse the sick old man here on the mic. Another interesting topic is Bubba the T-shirt dude. Now, this guy's been all over my website advertising these novelty T-shirts with a picture of poor old Field McConnell in jail on it. And some people are upset. Some people say that it's a guy that trashes us on Field's channel and advertises his T-shirts on my channel. Well, that may or may not be the case, but I really don't care. If the guy wants to sell these T-shirts, I don't care. I don't endorse them, but they're kind of neat, and they're kind of funny, and they do make a point. Field is in jail, and he's now been relegated to a joke on a T-shirt. That people are now making fun of him on a T-shirt. That anybody that goes out and buys one of these things is pointing out what a fool Field McConnell is, and what a fool Field McConnell has been. For he's allowed himself to get sucked into a comedy of errors. Tim Holmseth has played him to be a fool, whether he intended or not. Doesn't matter if Tim Holmseth continues to support Field or not. It's a fool supporting a fool. Eventually, people are going to realize that everything that Field says is not true. None of it's going to happen. We're not going to have JFK Jr. on the presidential ticket. Pence is still going to be there. Now, as it happens, today is the impeachment trial for Donald J. Trump. We're going to go through 24 to 48 hours of people arguing with each other over what they allege President Trump has done. At the end of the day, President Trump will remain president. Whether some of us would like to see him thrown out of office for crimes, or some of us still consider President a hero that's being railroaded. The prevailing thought is that at the end of the day, and at the end of the week, and at the end of the month, that President Trump will remain President of the United States. And it will be in November of this year that a decision will be made whether or not he's going to be here another 4 years. And so all the politics are going to play out. Alright, I had to stop the monologue for a second. I had a phone call. So we go on. I believe I was talking about T-shirts. So Bubba comes in and he advertises these T-shirts as a standing joke to Field McConnell. Bubba, if you're listening to my monologue, why not make one for Timothy Holmseth as well? He deserves a T-shirt. Sniffles again. So make a T-shirt for Timothy. Advertise the thing on the show. You may as well broaden your enterprise out. And to folks out there who ask me why I don't do this myself, it's because, number one, whoever drew up those cartoons have a lot of talent. Even if it's done with software, that's still pretty good thinking. And, there's time constraints. I really don't have the time. And I try to deal more on facts. Now, I may do a little ribbing here and there, engage in a little sarcasm, But in the end, I think that if people want to go out and make t-shirts and novelty items and so on and so forth, knock themselves out. I had people doing, when I was covering the Anthony case, I had people doing it. I had Murton Witness 1 t-shirts floating around there. Nobody ever sent me one, but they were out there. So, yeah, go at it. And if you sell a lot of them, do me a favor, kick a little commission back to me for all this free advertising you're getting. Because this might be a novel way to pay for my coverage of the forthcoming trials, is all these novelties. Anybody else out there wants to do what Bubba's doing, might be a novel way to benefit everybody. Somebody makes a little bit of profit selling shirts, people get shirts, and I might be able to get a little bit in the kitty for my trips to the various trial locations, because it looks to me like we're going to have a few trials this year. We're going to have trials in Fort Lauderdale, trials in Denver, Colorado, which I hope is at a warmer time of the year, because it gets cold up there and it stays cold for a long time. And who knows, if I get up to Denver, I might meet Monty for a cup of Java. So, that's another goal to look forward to. A Monty Mert get together. Maybe we could do a simulcast together. Figure a location out, sit down side by side, and have ourselves a little chat with our mutual friends. Somebody ought to suggest that to Monty. So if I can get up enough change, get up to Colorado for this Abzug case, that might be an idea. And that just came to me right now. It's just one of these impulsive ideas that I pop up with every once in a while. Anyway, moving on. Speaking of Abzug, we haven't heard much about her. She's out there probably preparing for her trial, having secret messages with her friends, trying to figure out how she's going to get out of this mess. And probably coming to the realization that she has screwed herself. For she is not only facing a criminal record at the very minimum, but jail time, gonna have probation of some kind, parole, probation, whatever. She's gonna get punished for this little stunt. And she just may have sealed the fate of the relationship between her son. She may never see her son again. At least not until he's an adult. And at the very least, she's going to be under supervision. She's not going to be able to see her son in private. There's always going to be somebody there in the background, keeping an eye on her. A security guard for the son. More likely than not, the child is going to find himself with a new set of guardians. Because I'm pretty certain the people who have him now have probably heard about this little stunt and said, we don't want any part of this. This woman's out of her mind, and we want no part of some weird conspiracy group showing up at our front door with guns in hand, ready to shoot us dead because we're trying to do right by this child. So get the kid the hell out of here, give us somebody else that isn't so controversial, and let us move on with our lives. And so the kid, instead of being settled with people he knows, may wind up with another set of strangers. So, it's just another price this woman is going to have to pay for her little stunt. And her son's going to have to pay the price. Her other children are going to have to pay the price for the actions of her mother. Smooth move, Ms. Abzug. That's the problem with Munchausen by proxy. People don't think straight, people do rash things, and in the end they wind up being a loser. And so, Ms. Abzug is another loser. It's another victim of this gang of idiots from Minnesota and Wisconsin and Arkansas who have some kind of weird agenda, and they don't give a damn about the people that cross their paths. They pretend that they're out to help them, and they wind up making their lives that much worse. Now, another thing that came up on my comment section is this situation where I seem to be uninformed about sovereign citizens, what they actually stand for, and so on and so forth. Well, that's absolutely correct. I don't know that much about sovereign citizens. I know what I've read and the minimal amount of research that I've done. Sovereign citizenry, to me, is just another one of these movements, philosophical things where people disagree with the way things are, and that's fine. But frankly, that's not what I'm here for. I'm here for truth and justice. And in this case is that I want Timothy Homestead and Phil McConnell to start telling the truth. Quit fooling people. Quit pretending. Quit coming up with Pentagon pedophile task forces that don't exist. Don't come up with Children's Crusades, which isn't doing a damn thing for children. Don't come up with veterans ranches, which don't exist and will never exist. Be honest with people. You can state your positions, you can have your opinions, and be honest about it. You don't have to tell these stupid lies. And whether you're making money or not, you're still lying to people. You're still breaking the law. You are representing yourselves as something that you're not. And you're making money off it. At the very minimum, you're deceiving people. But the simple truth is you are breaking the law. Because if you say that you're a press spokesman for the Pentagon Pedophile Task Force, and third in line to the President of the United States, and that you have this personal connection to the President of the United States, this is fraud. It's against the law. You go to jail for things like this, and you probably will once the investigation phase of this stops and the prosecution phase starts in. The United States government is a slow tortoise. It takes time for them to get their work done that they want to get done. But at some point, things are going to start happening and people are going to start going to jail. Now, the Abzug case is an entirely different matter, and this is actually a far more serious matter. For the evidence is flooding out there to the public of just exactly how serious this matter is, and to the degree that individuals got involved with this plot to kidnap a child. And various law enforcement agencies are looking at this. The FBI's looking at it, the state of Colorado's looking at it, and quite possibly the state of Arkansas is looking at this. And there may be more people pile onto this investigation as more details of what happened come out. And this isn't hearsay, this isn't speculation, this isn't people getting on a YouTube channel and saying this is what happened. These are people telling the story themselves, out of their mouths, out of their YouTube channel. They are hanging themselves quite literally, because they bragged about this. They bragged about it on their YouTube. They bragged about it on their social media pages. They were out in the open. This is a not secret operation. Now, yes, once the cat's out of the bag, everybody went scrambling around yanking these videos off the various YouTube channels and putting out copyright strikes against people that had this material up, but that didn't work because people simply archived all this material on file sites that you can't get to, file sites that don't give a damn about copyright, so it's all out there. It gets fed primarily to Twitter. Some people create temporary YouTube channels to get this stuff up there, and investigators get this stuff anonymously. So the information is out there. You can't hide from the internet. This is something that I told Kim once. I says, look, I says, it's already out there. I says, you're never going to stop it. I says, the best you can do is damage control, because what's done is done. You know, it's forever going to be out there. What Tim has done to you. Punish Tim Holmseth for what he's done. Show Tim Holmseth for the liar he is. And that's the best we're going to be able to do. The damage has been done. Tim got what he wanted. And the best you can do is to make Tim pay the price. Because it's happened to me. You know, my reputation is destroyed. Tim destroyed the reputation of a complete stranger. I did nothing to Tim. I gave an opinion, and that's all. And look where it got me. This is the kind of person that Tim Holmseth is. He doesn't care about you. You may be his friend now. But if it suits him, if he feels like it, he'll turn on you like a rabid dog. He has no loyalty to anybody except himself. And this is the sad part of all this, is there are people out there that are dedicated their lives to Tim Holmseth. And yet, if it suited him, Tim Holmseth would turn his back on him. He's done it already. He did it to Chad Cater. He did it to Tom Morrissey. And he's done it to others. There are people who risk going to jail for Tim Holmseth. And look where it got him. He made accusations against them. Called them traitors. Claimed they betrayed him. They did no such thing. They tried to protect him. They stored his personal property. If it had not been for Tom Morrissey, Chad Cater, and anyone else that helped at that time, there's no telling where his personal property would have wound up. His car was in impound, so they had to get his car out of impound. They had to store the car. They did him that favor. He could have lost his car. They saved his car. They saved his computer with all his work on it. They saved everything. And what does Tim Holmseth do? He gets on the YouTube and he trashes them because of a rumor. This is what Tim does. He bases things on rumors, on innuendo, on people that have agendas. People have agendas, they may not be telling the truth. They just make stuff up for whatever reason, stuff that would never stand up in court. And Tim soaks it in like a sponge because it's against his enemies. And you can't argue common sense with Tim Holmseth. It doesn't work. Because he doesn't operate on a normal level. He doesn't operate on a level that a truly professional journalist would. He operates on a biased, personal, vindictive agenda. Now here's the thing. Tim Holmseth claims to be an award-winning journalist. Now it is true he won some kind of award, but you know, the importance of the award is debatable, but it is an award, so we'll give him that. But Is he a true journalist or a propagandist? See, this is what you have to weigh. Because a true journalist, a true investigative reporter, is just like a cop, a detective. They're looking generally for the truth. They're trying to determine what is true and what is not. That's not what Tim is doing. Tim takes a basic set of facts. I use, for example, the Ramsey case. Now, a child died on Christmas Day. It's clear that the child was murdered, but we don't know who murdered the child. There's suspects. The mother was accused and prosecuted for it, and eventually acquitted. But it's an unsolved case, for the most part. And it'll remain that way forever, more than likely. But people like Tim Holmseth come along, and they look at it, and they start injecting conspiracy theories. Because they're not looking for evidence, they're not looking for truth, they're looking for sensationalism. They're looking for something that they can put their name on, they can get readership, maybe get a little money, get attention. But it's all nonsense. And this is Tim. So Tim is not a journalist in the sense that we know a journalist. He's a rumor monger. He's a yellow journalist. He's one of these people that would work for the Weekly World News or the Globe or maybe even the Inquirer. Because he doesn't adhere to the truth. He adheres to fantasy. He takes something basic in whatever it is he writes about and he twists it to his own narrative. He did it to the Wetterling case. Had a child who was kidnapped. There's some basic facts in the case. But Holmseth comes in and attaches his narrative to it, calls it a ritual or some nonsense. Completely ruins the work that people have put into trying to get to the truth of the case for all these years. Because he wants his name attached to the case. He wants to be the investigative reporter, investigative journalist. He wants that tagline at the bottom of the headline, Timothy Charles Holmseth, investigative reporter, award-winning investigative reporter, when he has no such thing. He's a clown, is what Tim Holmseth is. And so all the people out there that support Tim, you may think he's the greatest thing since God right now. But one of these days you're going to have a rude awakening. And it's probably going to be when it's too late. That you've been supporting a fool, and you've actually been dealing with the devil. You've been dealing with a false prophet. You've been dealing with someone that just because he can sit there and thump the Bible and say, I believe in God, and I've been born again, and yada, 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 that he's somebody you can hang your faith on. When instead, you've been dealing with a false prophet. That's where we are here. The terrible Timmy. And it looks like Timmy's going to fade away. Now the clock is going to tick. We're going to go through day by day by day. And we're going to see if his fantasy world pops up again. If we see something else from Timmy, maybe he'll sit in the parking lot in the car and he'll ramble on for a half an hour. Hard to tell. Or maybe he's simply gone away. He's turned off his laptop, disconnected from the internet. He's down playing with his grandchildren, with his daughter. Or maybe he's dead in the woods. Who knows? And those up in Minnesota, they'll move on to somebody else. move on to something else. It's already started. I mean, yeah, we get blips of Kim on there, but that's going to fade away. People aren't going to care anymore. You know, they want to hear about Q. You know, why aren't you paying attention to Q? Q's important here. Q's got all the answers. Q doesn't care about Kim. So that's what's going to happen. Q's going to get... We're going to see more and more Q. Because that's the fad now. Breaking these little codes and hints that Q puts out there. People are devouring Q like a bowl of cornflakes. They just chomping it down. Getting their nourishment off the Q factor. You know, and I kind of wonder if the people that made this Q up aren't fans of Star Trek. Because that was a character in Star Trek, The Next Generation. The one with Jean-Luc Picard, captain of the Enterprise. See, the pilot episode of the Star Trek The Next Generation had this character who went by Q. And Q is a member of the Q Continuum. They were these godlike, immortal beings that were wizards of a sort. They could snap their fingers and make all kinds of weird shit happen. And it was a popular character that went through the entire series. You know, it wasn't one of these characters that came into Star Trek, hung around for a couple episodes, and then disappeared. Q was in Star Trek The Generation for almost the entire series. He would come in every once in a while, play different things. The guy that portrayed Q is a well-known, very good actor. They had good actors on that series. Patrick Stewart is an excellent actor. The man who played Picard. And you had other people on there. Yeah, it was a good cast. Good show. Another Star Trek show has just started. I don't know if Q will show up. I don't know what happened to the actor that played Q. But apparently somebody thought that Q would make a good fantasy. And perhaps this is how Q came about. Who knows? Could be just one of these coincidences. Or when someone sat down and decided to come up with this Q hoax, that he was a Trekkie. Or whatever. But it's kind of funny that people have latched themselves onto this mess. Now, there are people that view my channel that believe in Q. Knock yourself out. I think it's silly. I don't believe in Q. But if you want to believe in Q, I'm not going to criticize you for it. You know, it's your right if you want. You know, it's harmless. I mean, you know, all Q does is he makes this stuff up, says this is going to happen on such and such a day, and if you play around with numbers, you're going to find this, that, and the other thing. And kind of fun. It's a fad. It kind of reminds me of the fad with these cartoonish characters that people would go around their smartphones and they try and geolocate these things. And they were actually, it got to be really weird. People were going into churches and buildings and getting into all sorts of weird places just to find these little geolocated characters. That kind of faded out. This is something similar, done a different way, but it's a fad that seems to be sustaining. You know, people are just going great guns with Q. And that's the thing. For the most part, Q is harmless. I mean, he makes fools out of people. He's reinforcing a belief system, but that's about it. So I'm not concerned about Q. I don't care about Q. I'm not bothered with Q. What I'm bothered with is when somebody gets on the internet, calls for the death of a mother of 3 children simply because they believe a rumor. That they don't take the time to investigate the facts, don't take the time to investigate their source of information, and try to determine if there's bias or an agenda behind that information. Now that's what I tell people when they question what I say. Because there are people out there that don't agree with me. Especially people that support both Tim and Phil. I saw it on my comments today when I was reviewing my comments. Somebody claims that I'm jealous of Field and all his money and all his cars and his big farm and blah, blah, blah. And the point is, I could care less. If I had the opportunity that Phil McConnell had to have a nice big house, it would be in Florida. It's cold up there. Freeze to death up there. Yeah, sure, go up there in the middle of summer and have a good old time, but I'd close the house up and come to Florida in the winter. I'm not going to live up there in 20-degree weather. You kidding me? Yike. I hate cold weather. I'm extremely sensitive to cold weather. If it gets below 70 degrees in Florida, I'm out looking for a damn jacket for crying out loud. So, it's a nice looking house, I'll admit that. But it's a building. There's Field McConnell's house gets old. I certainly ain't going to have the money to go up and buy it. I don't have that kind of money. And $300,000-$400,000 for a house today really isn't a whole hell of a lot of money. A lot of people can afford a house for that much money. You get a 30-year mortgage on it, put down maybe $10,000, $20,000, and you get the house. Interest rate's low. I would say you're probably looking at a mortgage somewhere in the neighborhood of a couple grand a month. I mean, a professional working couple, they can afford it. Because your income to debt ratio will be there. A lawyer, a couple lawyers, a couple doctors, a lawyer and a doctor. Maybe a pilot and his wife who has similar occupation, or even a pilot alone. Pilots make about $100,000 a year. With a few wise investments, you can afford a house like that. I mean, the place does generate an income. You rent out the farmland, and it's basically you're a landlord. You work out a crop sharing deal with the farmer who comes in and raises the crops and harvests it and takes it to the Chicago Board of Trade or wherever else he sells the crop to. There's your money. Farming right now is not the highest paying thing in the world, but if you're growing corn, there's your ethanol. You sell it to ethanol producers. For however much. I don't know what the futures market is for corn, but at least there's money there. So you take it to the Chicago Board of Trade and you sell the corn. Same with the cows and the goats. Milk and meat. Now, I understand the cows are dairy cows. That's dairy country up there in Wisconsin. It's the cheese state. Sell the milk to cheese producers, to companies that bottle the milk for consumption. So, you have an income. This is why I'm surprised that Phil got himself in the mess he's into now. It's because he's got a gold mine. He's got a working farm. He's got a pension. If he really felt like it, he could go out there and probably be a charter pilot, take people up for airplane rides, become a flight instructor. There's all kinds of things that Phil could be doing right now. Instead of rotting away in a county jail because of some dipshit theory that he's got. I mean, when you stop and think about the predicament that Phil McConnell's got him into, you say, what the hell's the matter with this guy? I mean, there's a hell of a lot of potential in this man. I know guys his age that are doing all kinds of weird things. They're doing the things that I just said. They're flight instructors. You can be a flight instructor and not get into an airplane. Because you got to go through ground school to get your license before you even get into an airplane. You got to have the theory and all the stuff behind you. He could be a professor of aeronautics at like Embry-Riddle University down here in Daytona Beach. Make himself about $90,000 a year. You know, teaching people to be pilots. This is what's lost on field. I don't think it's ever crossed his mind that he could be a teacher. That's the shame of it. The man has all these years' experience in the cockpit, and he's blowing it on some stupid conspiracy theory about a lawyer in Florida. What a waste. And the people that talked him into this, they don't care. They don't give a crap. All Phil McConnell is a useful idiot. All Phil McConnell was is a means to an end. He's in jail. They'll milk him for a little bit. Somebody will go in there and they'll do these field reports for a while until finally they're going to find out it's a waste of time. Because it's going to be one of these things that people are going to say, well, this is the same old shit day in and day out, and they'll move on to something else. It'll happen to me eventually. People are going to get tired of listening to my nonsense going down the road every day, and they'll move on. Because if I don't find something that keeps you all interested in visiting, you'll all go away. You know, that's just life. That's the way things go. And if it happens, it happens. If one day I find that nobody's going to pay attention to what I do anymore, then, Flight Simulator 2020 is coming out. I'll put that up. That's what the computer was for in the beginning. When I built the computer that I used for my Murdathon, it was for Flight Simulator 2020. And it's a very sophisticated game by Microsoft where you pretend to fly an airplane. And it's very realistic. And you can go out and spend all kinds of money on the little flight controls and stuff to fly the airplane. And you can actually pretend you're flying a plane. So I can do that. I've got an Xbox in the bedroom. I can sit there and play my Xbox. I went out and I got an Xbox One. And then I've got my virtual reality. That's my main thing, is I do it every once in a while. I have my virtual reality. So I have things I can do. If you people get bored with me, then I do other stuff. And I appreciate your company, but I understand that your time is valuable and that sometime you're probably going to have to move on to something else. I'm going to try and keep you around as long as I can. I'm going to try and come up with things that might be worthwhile to talk about. So we'll see. It's one day at a time. But this is what's going to happen to Phil McConnell. It's what's going to happen to Timothy Homeseth. People are going to get tired. People are going to realize that promises aren't getting fulfilled. That it's the same old every day, and nothing's coming of it. They've already seen that promises were broken here. People didn't get arrested. People didn't get their bar license taken away. The 2,100 children haven't shown up on TV or in stories anywhere. The stories kind of faded. It's all gone away. And that's where we're at. But in the meantime, while I'm still holding the interest of more than one person, I do want to strive to give you as much information as I can about the current state of affairs. And my goal is, in the coming days, to prepare to go down to Fort Lauderdale to cover the trial of Field McConnell. And for that, I'm going to need your help. Now, some of you have been kind enough to sign up to my Patreon. A number of you have said that you would like to send support to my home, and I'm going to put up my home address. Now, people are saying, oh my God, you're doxing yourself. You know, people are going to do this, that, and the other thing. Well, I'll tell you something. There was a time, years ago, back in ancient times, where if you wanted to find out where somebody lived, you got this great, big, enormous book, you know, depending on the size of the city you live in. I used to live in Elmira, New York, so it wasn't such a big book. It was, you know, about the size of an encyclopedia in thickness. It was a little bigger than an encyclopedia in dimensions, but it was as thick as an encyclopedia, because we're a town of about 40,000 people. And you leaf through there. If you know my last name, Murtaugh, M-U-R-T-A-U-G-H, you look through there and you flip. Oh, there we go. Murtaugh William, 400 Broadway, Elmira, New York. 407-732, blah, blah. I won't give out the phone number because I don't want someone to be bothered by some idiot that might call the number. But anyway, it was called a telephone book. It's called the White Pages. If you had a business, it was in the Yellow Pages. You paid to have your business name in there. I had STI Auto Sales in the Yellow Pages of the Palatka telephone book. And Ocala, where I used to have my business. STI Auto Sales, look it up. Can't remember the street address now, but it was North Highway 301, Ocala, Florida. There you go. And it's the same today. There is actually the Yellow Pages. There's telephone books out there where if you get the telephone book, flip through it, you're going to see William K. Murtaugh, 416 Drage Drive, Apopka, Florida. It's right there. This information is easy to find. You know, I don't know how many databases are out there. You know, I do research to find information out. And you can find somebody simply by opening up one of these databases, and basic information is there on who it is you're looking for. Their name, address, sometimes their telephone number. It's going to be there because it's public information. They get it straight out of the Yellow Pages or the White Pages. So if I give my address out, so what? Everybody knows my address. I was doxxed a long time ago. I got doxxed back in 2008. I got visited by Channel 6 News at my house. I didn't advertise my street address, but they found it. I was in Sorrento, Florida. I got a knock on my door. I open the door and there's a TV camera staring me in the face. Mike DeForest is sitting there. Hello, Mike. We all know how that went. I made a bad call and I paid for it on that one. But that's the thing. You know, sorry to drone on about it for so long, but this is just a fact of life that when you go public on YouTube or anything else, people are going to look you up. People are going to want to know about you. And this is what happened to me. You know, people wanted to know about me. They researched all my information and they got all my information. And here I am. So have I been doxxed? Yeah, I've been doxxed. So, yes, you're going to see my address up here when I do this video. And in 2 or 3 hours, I'm going to edit it and I'm going to have my name up there. Full name, full address. Going to ask you to subscribe to my channel because I need subscribers. I'm hovering right around, last I checked I'm at 668. I was at 667 it dropped down to 664, and now it's creeped back up again. People come in and they subscribe, and then for some reason they unsubscribe, and then new subscribers come along. So, but I need subscribers. I need more and more people, because if I get to 1,000, there's a lot of things I can do. And one of the things I can do is I can mobile stream from locations. Now, I'm going to be able to stream through Wi-Fi no matter where I go. But there's going to be times, especially when I'm driving, where I'm not going to be able to live stream through Wi-Fi. I'm going to have a cellular connection. And for that, I've got to have 1,000 subscribers for it. Now, it's not me that's doing this. This is something that YouTube came up with. Now, last year at this time, I was live streaming from my car through YouTube. But they didn't require 1,000 subscribers back then. They just were able to do it. And then all of a sudden they imposed this new rule. And now I have to have 1,000 subscribers sustained in order to live stream from my car. And from areas where Wi-Fi is not available. So that's why I need 1,000 subscribers. And the reason for the fundraising is quite simple. People have offered to help. And I thought, well, if people are willing to help, I'll go ahead and I'll start this up. And if you want to send me a couple dollars here and there, that's up to you. And I'm going to use it towards the expenses of running this operation. It just cost me $250 to renew my websites. And I've also got equipment, and also primarily for airfare. Or it's going to cost me probably $500 to $1,000 a trip to go to some of these places. To go to Minnesota, go to Colorado, go to Arkansas, go to Wisconsin. Because airfare is the big chunk. First expense is airfare, second expense is hotel rooms, third expense is your rental car. Too far to walk, and Uber's too much of a pain in the neck. I've used Uber before on these trips, and it came in handy, but it's still a pain in the ass. So I'm much better off if I can find a rental car, use a rental car. And when I'm on Social Security, it's kind of hard. Social Security only go, I do have a little bit of extra money every month from Social Security, at least now. And it allows me over a long period of time to save up money to do a couple things, but I can't do a lot. And one thing I can't do is stay flying all over the country on my own dime. So, I have to resort to funding requests. If you're willing to do so. If you don't, that's fine. I'll work with what I got. Because if I get a little bit of money, I can use it to pay for court documents. $2, $5 a sheet for court documents that I have to get. In most cases, to get the detailed court documents, you have to pay for it. Especially if you order audio transcripts. Like these courts where they record the proceedings, they charge you money for that, and it's not cheap. And those are obtainable. That's under the Freedom of Information Act. There's all kinds of things you can get, but it's not free. You have to pay for it. Pacer is not free. I ran up a $200 bill for a case I covered in Kentucky through Pacer. And so I don't use Pacer anymore because I can't afford that. I can't afford that kind of money. So once that case was resolved, I quit using Pacer, and I'm not going to use it again because I just don't have that kind of money. Now, if I get the resources to do it, then yeah, I'll start up again. But I can't, I can't be spending that kind of money on paper. Because that's basically what I'm doing. I'm just getting either paper or text or stuff. So as I wind down, folks, to the end of this monologue, I'm almost to the airport parking lot. I ask for help because I need it in order to cover these cases. Being on Social Security, again, is one of these things that makes this sort of thing difficult. I don't do this for a living. I do it because I'm interested in these situations, and I know there are a number of you out there that are interested in these cases, and I would like to be there to cover these cases on a personal level. And so if you're willing to help, that's what I will do. So, we are drawing down to another monologue. I'm going to get on the internet as soon as I get in the airport and get in the waiting line and all that, and I'm going to see what's going on. I'm going to see what Field McConnell talks about on his show. I will check your comments on my Facebook channel to see what you've talked about so far today. And I will put this up there as soon as I can. Now you might notice a slight difference in the way I do it, because what I'm trying to do is cut down on the amount of time it takes to produce this video. So I'm going to cut down a little bit on the slideshows, because I don't think it's necessary. And the one thing I find interesting is that Phil McConnell gets on there with his channel logo and he just drones on for 45 minutes. And it doesn't seem to affect his viewership. So that's one thing I'm going to ask here of you folks. Would you rather that I dispense with the slideshows and just have information up on my screen, such as my links that I may put up, or my funds, and just a simple format where I don't have all these different pictures show up all the time? Or do you want or do you prefer that? Because this is, in the end, this is your channel. And I'm looking for input to see what it is that you want out of this channel. What do you want to know about? What is there out there that interests you besides Field McConnell and Tim Holmseth and all this other nonsense? Because this is starting to fade. The stories are going cold. Because eventually, the Field McConnell issue is going to get resolved one way or another. The Tim Holmseth situation is going to get resolved one way or another. And life goes on. And so I'm looking to find what else would pique your interest. Now, I prefer not to get into the political end of all this. I had planned on it. And if I did, I would probably drive away about 2/3 of my audience. Because the vast majority of the people that are on this channel are politically opposite of me. And I realize that. Well, opposites can get along as long as we don't push our agendas on each other. So I try to stay away from the politics. Now, I've let my opinions on certain things like the sovereign citizens creep in, which is a mistake on my part, because we're not here for that. We're here because of Timothy Holmseth and Field McConnell. And as an addendum, Preacher Dan and some of the other players in this little game. And so I need to get off the politics, if you guys will let me. So drop in some suggestions. Let me know what you want. The constructive criticism helps, because I did get criticized for the way I do my cameras and stuff, and I'm working on that. Part of the reason for that is because of the angle of the camera. I can't look directly at the computer screen when I'm talking to you, or look at you directly, because of the way my setup is, but I'll discuss that later, because I gotta go. Got things to do, and I shall see you online, and tomorrow on another monologue. So until then, this is William K. Murtaugh, Mert Witness 1. Have a good one.